What's up everyone? Welcome to my third installment of my Entropia hunting series. Today's episode will be our first foray into a mob that utilizes electric attacks, and on the same note, a mob that we have to use dodge against. Today's mob is the Bristlehog. The area where we will be hunting them is in an instance to the east of Half Moon Bay. This instance area should contain young through old Bristlehogs, which would mean levels 6, 7, and 8 respectively. Now, I won't be going deep into the instance, I'll mainly be camping the two spawns right at the front. So let's take a look at their loot and see what we're hoping to get. To start, I'd like to see most of the weapons. With the least interest in the LOP4 and the LBC4, I could use the LBP12 myself, and the electric nano chip I could use or sell. The Calypso CR Spirit Mark III would be cool, but I've seen the markup on it and it's really nothing to write home about. And with it being BLP, I'm quite a ways away from being able to use it efficiently. Now, I'm not sure about the markup on the Omegaton CBA1 Color Bleaching Edition or the Neo Scion 10B Mind Force implant, so that is kind of neither here nor there. But moving on to the interesting side, I think both the Bigwig and Stink Tree boards, as well as both mineral extractors, have pretty decent markup. But the Gremlin Harness and Rudibus Shin Guards are where the big money's at. Otherwise, hitting some nice globals will suffice. Now, my Dodger is only level 7, so the olds may hit me a bit more frequently, but looking at our armor for today, we'll have a bit of a fix for that. Today's gear is, you guessed it, full ghost with tier 1 armor enhancers. I seriously can't recommend this gear enough. If your adjusted pixie or your mentor armor isn't up to snuff, I highly recommend investing in this armor. Now, the Ghost armor does offer electric defense, but we will be supplementing it with 2 Pulsar Armor Plate 2s. Each of these offer a whopping 25 electric defense, and I'll be popping these on the chest piece and the thigh piece of my armor. Don't ask me why those pieces specifically, it just feels right, but ideally, you would have one on every piece of armor. Now, moving on to our weapon, since we're going to be in a close combat area, I wanted to use a pistol, so I'll be using, again, the AR Matrix BP-10. I'm still leveling BLP, but don't fret, there will be other weapons in upcoming videos, I promise. This will have a Weapon Damage Enhancer 1 on it, as well as an AR Matrix B-Amp P10, with an extra one for when the equipped one burns out, and an AR Matrix Extender P20, just like my last few videos. Which, by the way, if you haven't seen, be sure to go check out. This puts my pistol at a 68.7 efficiency, which isn't great, but I'm not going to invest too much into efficient setups until we level up a bit more. I do want to mention that obviously the decay calculations will be accurate in all of my hunts, but with items, unless you get them while hunting, they'll have some markup. So in future videos, I will be buying some weapons and attachments that I plan on using in said video to give even more of an accurate representation. But for this video, I'll just be calculating decay. And speaking of this hunt, this will be a 250 PED hunt without converting shrapnel to ammo, which I promise I'll do in one of my upcoming episodes. So with all of our bases covered, I won't delay anymore. Let's get to hunting. just want to take a minute here to talk about our drops. We're getting a good string of drops here, none that are globals yet, but one that's really close and a couple that help bump up our returns percentage. I'm not sure exactly what the minimum PED for a global is on Bristlehogs, but I feel like we almost hit it a couple times. Alright, our first item drop comes towards the later part of this video, but still isn't a global, with a 13.84 PED ISIS LLP4 and some shrapnel. Not one of the items I was hoping to get off these Bristlehogs, but we'll check it out at the end of the video. So I figured I'd end the hunt there, as I knew my measly 7 shots weren't going to make for another kill. But I do have to say this has been the closest hunt to breaking even or even turning a profit yet, even though it's just been 3 videos. It kills me that I got that pistol and not any of the bigger items or mineral extractors, but let's take a look and see what we got in loot, as well as its markup and the decay and repair costs. So first up, we have our typical shrapnel, coming in at just over half of the amount of ammo used, at 131.55 PED, which at 101% is 132.86 PED if we convert it to ammo, which I will be doing. Next, we have 68.94 PED of animal muscle oil, which we'll try to sell for at least 101%. We have a few dark green paint cans that don't sell frequently, but depending on if they're not wanted as much or just harder to get a supply of going, I'd say we'll sell between 175 and 200%, so I'll stock up on these in my storage. We have 5.5 PED of thin wool, which will sell for around 102%. We have 9.53 PED of soft hide, which I hope will sell for 103 to 105%. We have 2.2 PED of short stink tree board, which will pile up in my stash and hopefully sell at 175% or higher. We have 22.04 short big wig board, which I will try to sell for around 102%. 5.2 PED of infrasound emitter components, which hopefully go for around 102% if I'm lucky, but I'll need to save up quite a bit. Otherwise, if I need the PED, I'll nanocube these. and 4.2 PED of diluted sweat, which I'll sell for 115%. Lastly, we have the ISIS LLP4 gun we got. It has a low tear rate and an efficiency of only 57%, but I'll try to sell this for 15 PED, which is a 108% markup. Moving on to our repairs and decay, our AR Matrix BP10 decayed 11.87 PED, the extender decayed 3.2 PED, we used up the remaining 3.7 PED of one of our amps, and 1.38 PED of another for a total of 5.08 in amp decay. Our first aid pack decayed 1.64 PED. Our two armor plates decayed for 0.65 PED and 0.35 PED respectively for a total of 1 PED. And lastly, to repair our ghost armor cost 1.87 PED, to total out our decay and repair cost at 24.66 PED. With our loot coming in at 265.22 PED before any markup, that leaves us at a raw loss of 9.44 PED or 94 cents, which for the little bit over an hour it took, and with the skill gains I got and the codex, I'm completely looking at this as a win. So before I end the video, I do want to note I am working on a spreadsheet of the loot I have in my storage that will be for sale. I'll update it every time I make a sale or add or remove items from my storage, so be sure to look out for that in the description below. And if you're interested in purchasing from me, feel free to reach out, and sleep soundly knowing that the sales will go to helping make more of these videos. So with all that wrapped up nicely, it is time to end the episode. If you missed the previous episode, I will have it on screen for you to go check out. Let me know how you're liking the series so far. If you could subscribe, I'd appreciate that as well. It'll help me with making my videos in the future. So thank you for watching, good luck, global often, and I hope you have a great day.